Welcome to the Empire of the Sun. This is part 2 of the Wisdom series, and so I'll continue where I left off with number 13. Number 13. Guard your heart against evil, but don't wall it off. Remember to let the good in too. So a lot of times what you'll see with people who go through difficult experiences is they will guard their entire heart off as a defense mechanism. And there is utility to this. It's not for nothing. It's the reason why people do it. But in doing so, you also block out the good. And what tends to happen is you become a colder person over time. So when good things happen, it doesn't affect you the way that it should. And so it is good to guard your heart against evil. It is good to block it off against evil, to not let the evil affect you too much, to become essentially to protect yourself against evil. There's a balancing act to this, and I do believe that we're all called to different roles. And so for some people, evil will bother them more than others. And this can also be used for fuel. So if you're unable to fully block it off, then you can also use it for fuel and refocus that energy into the good. So what can you do about it? How can you bring good from evil? How can you overcome evil with good? And so for most of us, though, you want to guard your heart against evil. You don't want to think about evil too much. You don't want to focus on evil too much because it will affect you. And at the same time, you don't want to wall it off from good either. You don't just want to shut down. You just want to shift your focus. So pretty self-explanatory. Number 14, care is a key ingredient of excellence. And there is a note that goes along with this. Like I said before, some of these will have like additional notes to complement the original saying. And this note says, when you care about your work, it produces excellence. And so this is something I thought about for a long time when I was in sales. I was always very good at sales. I had a natural ability for it. But I also noticed that I excelled in the sense that I consistently got results, which I believe is partly another thing. It's not just natural ability, but there's another key factor that goes along with that. And I started to think about this, and I started to observe the other sales agents who were also very good. And I tried to find what is the factor that makes someone excellent. And what I came to the conclusion of is that care is not the key, but it is a key. So when you care about your work, it produces excellence. Care is a key ingredient of excellence. There's other ingredients as well, such as natural ability and practice and all these things. But care is really, I believe, at the core of excellence when it comes to anything. If you care about what you're doing, you will get better and better at it because you won't stop. You won't be deterred when you have setbacks. You won't be deterred when things get in your way, because you care about your work. And also when you care about your work and you care about what you're doing, what you'll see is that care allows you to produce better fruit because it's coming from the right place. It's not coming from a place of, oh, I want this result from this. It's not a results-based thing. It's not a rewards-based thing. It's just that you care about doing the best you can possibly do. And I believe that God is in that. So care is a key ingredient of excellence. So if you're at your job or you're doing anything and you're not getting the results that you want, but you find that you're not fully invested. You're not caring about your work the way you know you should. That is a hint that if you add care to the equation, it'll produce better results. So begin to care more about what you do, and you should care. You know, a lot of people have the philosophy that it's not cool to care. It's not cool to care. It makes you a loser, whatever. Like whatever negative connotations you want to put on it. But essentially, the less you care, the more power you have. You know, there's that philosophy. People are attracted to people who don't care because they don't seem to get nervous or anything like that. But it's not really a good way to be with everything. Certain things you shouldn't care about, you know, you shouldn't care about the small things. But when it comes to your work, when it comes to something you're called to do, when it comes to relationships, friendships, you should absolutely care. You should absolutely care. And if you find that you don't care about anything, that needs to be fixed. Because if you don't care about anything, then you will stand for nothing. When evil arrives, you won't stand up against it. You'll be an enabler for it. And you'll get worse results than someone who does care. You'll get worse relationships than someone who does care. You'll get worse friendships than someone who does care. So it's good to care. And of course, with everything, you know, like I said before in the last video, there is a balance to everything, right? And so you don't want to take anything that I say too far. You don't want to be dogmatic in anything that I say. There's always a balance to everything. You will find this in life. There is a balance to absolutely everything that you strive to do. And so care is important, and you should absolutely care, but don't care so much that you start to get eaten alive because things and people aren't responding to your care the way that you think it should. There should be a balancing act, and you should know when to give things to God also. And so care is very, very important. It's a key ingredient of excellence. Number 15. The truth can be made so absurd that no one would believe it. I'll repeat that because it's very good. It's very good. The truth can be made so absurd that no one would believe it. I believe that this is actually a weapon that the enemy uses. The enemy does things in such a way, and the machinations of the world, the way everything is set up, the way the matrix of the world is set up, the way that the things that evil forces are doing behind the scenes, and when people dig into these things and they start to uncover these things, it begins to look extremely absurd to anyone to who it is explained. When you describe the truth to people, the real truth, for example, we're under a spiritual war. There's war happening all around us, everywhere. We just can't see it. We can feel it, but we can't see it. If you told someone that there's demons who specialize in this and demons who specialize in that, there's demons who will cause X, Y, or Z to happen in your life. I'll give you an example to make it real. I went through a phase of several years where I would drop stuff constantly. Like things would fall out of my hands, things would get knocked over. And at first I was like, man, I must be like the clumsiest person ever because this is happening constantly. I mean, about half the time I grab something, it's like falling out of my hands, it's slipping, I gotta catch it. It's happening all the time. It's like, what's going on here? So I'd start gripping things tighter, and I tried all these ways to fix it, but it would still keep happening. And so eventually I reached a point where I'm like, okay, this has to be a spiritual thing because it doesn't make sense why this is happening. I don't believe I'm a clumsy person. I'm actually a very coordinated person. And so how is this possible? And I never got the answer in my question. I just realized that it was a spiritual thing. I did not get the answer right away. It wasn't until later that I realized the spiritual battle that we're under, and the ways that you have to approach this battle, the language that you have to use in approaching this battle, the effectual language that you should be using. Once I started using this language, and once I started going into the spirit to conquer each of these things that were holding me back, the things that God was bringing to my attention, the things that I prayed for God to reveal to me, and the things that would get revealed throughout the day, I would pray against them, and I would plead the blood of Jesus over them. I would plead tsunamis of living water over them. I would plead holy fire over them. I'd plead the angels to come and help me with these battles. As I began to do this, I felt things fall off me one by one by one. And there came a day where I realized that, wait, I haven't dropped anything in like a month. I haven't dropped anything in like 2 months. Whereas this was happening like every day. Oftentimes multiple times a day, this was happening. And then I would go from that constant to 2 months and nothing has happened. And so I'm like, I started to wonder, I'm like, well, hold on. It was a spiritual thing all along. I was right on the money. And these battles that I did in the spirit conquered that. It's gone now. But if you describe that to someone, if you were dropping a lot of stuff around someone and they witnessed this over and over and over, they would begin to think you're just a clumsy person. But if you came to them and you said, no, I'm not a clumsy person, I'm actually a very coordinated person, but this is a spiritual thing, I'm actually under attack, and there's some sort of spiritual rights that the enemy has to do this to me. That sounds absurd. And it sounds absurd to anyone, but it especially sounds absurd to someone who doesn't believe, to someone who doesn't understand spiritual things. And this is what the enemy uses. He separates people this way, and he hurts the people who express these things because they get pushed back from others. They get ostracized. They get told they're crazy. They get told all these different things that try to push them away from that sort of line of thinking. And this is not an accident. This is by design. The people who are enforcing this peer pressure of sorts to get people out of the spirit, that's done by the systems of the world. It's done by the upbringing. There's systematic ways that people are brought up, the way that children are taught, the way that the school systems work, the way that everything works, the court system, everything. It's all to slowly but surely whittle down your ability to understand spiritual things. And that is where we were at very recently. That's where we're at, basically a spiritually dead world, where people don't understand the spiritual things, but God is actually waking up the church now. God is waking up to the church to the spiritual realities of this world. And so these things are being undone, and it's being undone rapidly. But I wrote this back in 2022, and it was with this exact thing in mind. So I was a bit ahead of things, but I didn't fully understand what I was writing. I do believe that as I set out to endeavor to write these things, I do believe that the Spirit helped me write them. So some things I had a glimpse of, but I didn't fully understand. And so this is as much for me to go back and look at these old writings as it is for you. But yeah, the truth can be made so absurd that no one would believe it. That is true, and that is how evil. That's one of the tools that evil likes to use. All right, number 16. The words can be true, but the spirit of the words a lie. And I'll repeat that because this one's a little bit more deep. The words can be true, but the spirit of the words a lie. So I'll give an example because I do have a note here to this one as well. It says, you can say something that is technically the truth, but with the intention to tell a lie. For example, fake humility through a true statement in order to make people think you're virtuous. The spirit of that is a lie. So you can make a true statement which the words that you're saying are true, the words you're saying are virtuous, and it can be received that way. But you could be doing that for the purpose of misdirection. You could be doing that for the purpose of hiding your true intentions. And so just because the words are true doesn't mean the spirit behind the words is true. And so you need to examine yourself with this and to see what sort of manipulations come out of your mouth. What words are you saying that are technically true, but the spirit of it, the emotion behind it, the idea behind it is manipulation or misdirection or just an outright lie. So definitely something to guard yourself on, and it is a little bit more deep. And I wrote this as I started to realize that, certain ways that I would pray to God, I would try to come up with the right words to say, and I would try to present myself as virtuous and righteous and, seeking the path of righteousness, when truly my heart was wicked. And, truly it was just like a smokescreen to hide who I truly was. And this was done subconsciously. There was sin in my life that I was not fully addressing. There were wrong intentions in my life that I was not fully addressing. And I was covering these things up with truthful statements and virtuous statements and quoting the Bible and declarations that sound good, but have no real substance to them. And so guard yourself with this. Guard yourself with this. Number 17. Treat others as though it were... I'll restart. Number 17. Treat others as though it were your last day on earth before judgment. Knowing the right way to do this is the challenge. So I've actually, I wrote this again this was back in 2022, September 30th. I wrote this quite a while ago, but I've heard many people say something similar since then as well, where I'm sure it's even been written in books as well. I do recall hearing about a book that made a statement like this, but treat everyone as if it were your last day on earth before judgment, as if you're going to be judged for your whole life today. And in doing so, you'll find that this gives you an entirely different experience and perspective towards life. Entirely different. You will snap out of autopilot very quickly when you think this way, very quickly. And so I do think that this is an excellent way to be. But I've added a caveat to this statement. Knowing the right way to do this is the challenge, because that's exhausting. It's exhausting to live your life that way. It's very challenging to live your life that way. So knowing the right way to do it is the challenge. Knowing the way to do this in a way that's consistent, but not, knowing the way to do this in a way that's consistent, but doesn't burn you out is the key. And you'll know what's right for your life in that sense. But, certain things, you want to focus on, and not be on autopilot about. So, treat others and everything as though it were your last day on earth before judgment. Number 18. It's easy to make fun. It's not as easy to understand. I really love this one as well because, it's self-explanatory, but I'm going to go a little more deeper just briefly. It's easy to make fun of someone. It's easy to jump on the bandwagon if someone else is making fun of someone. It's easy to do that because you're in with the rest of the crowd when you do that. People love to gossip. It's just in people. It's in people to do that. And it's in people also to tear others down, to make themselves look better and to, make themselves feel better about themselves. So that's easy. It's easy to do that. And the easy path is not always the right one. In fact, often the easy path is the wrong one. The hard path, the difficult path, is the correct path. Not always, but very, very often. So it's easy to make fun. It's not as easy to understand. So when you're tempted to make fun of someone and when you're tempted to gossip about someone, try instead to understand what caused that person to be that way. Try to understand where that person's coming from. Maybe they meant it in a way that you did not perceive it. Maybe you have the wrong perception of what they said. Maybe the bad that you see in them is really bad within you that you are projecting onto them. So when you feel tempted to make fun of someone, when you feel tempted to gossip, don't do that. Try to understand instead. Try to understand why you're doing that. Try to understand where it's coming from. Try to understand the other person, what made them that way. And speak blessing upon them, not cursing. You can curse people with your words. You can speak evil things upon someone with your gossip and you're making fun of them. You can put things on people, even if they aren't there to hear it. You can put things on people. There's a quantum level to reality. And the quantum reality works different than the physical reality. And it doesn't have the limitations of space, distance, or even if the other person is there to hear it, your intention is enough. So don't put things on people to make them even worse or to make them bad to start with. Don't do that. Speak blessing upon people and get them out of the things that you observe. Maybe the things that you observe are there for a reason so that you can help someone, not so that you can tear them down. And again, like I said in the first video, it's not manly to do this anyway. If you want to be a true man, don't make fun of others. All right, number 19. Evil constantly tries to challenge God by provoking his judgment and testing his mercy. Games are being played at a spiritual level that we can't understand, even though we're all pawns in the game. So it's a long one. I'll repeat it again. I do believe in the power of repeating things because sometimes people need to hear things twice. Evil constantly tries to challenge God by provoking his judgment and testing his mercy. Games are being played at a spiritual level that we can't understand, even though we're all pawns in the game. I would change this one to say we're not all pawns in the game, but many people are pawns in the game until they wake up to the reality, the spiritual reality that we're in. Then you're no longer a pawn in the game, at least for evil. You might be a pawn in the game for good instead, but we're not all pawns. Some of us are just like a chessboard. Different pieces serve different functions, so we're not all pawns. But what I mean by what kind of sparked this one is when I say that evil constantly tries to challenge God by provoking his judgment and testing his mercy. What sparked this was I was browsing a website and I saw a post on it about, I believe it was, I want to say it was either Burning Man or one of those festivals, like Burning Man or Tomorrowland. It was something like that. I can't remember which one. This was written in October of 2022. So it was one of those festivals around that time. And someone has shown a overhead view of the festival. And as you zoomed out, if you had that overhead view, which no one had unless you were in the drone or helicopter or whatever, you didn't have this view. You could see that the stage and the lights and the arrangement of it was actually designed to look like something. And what it looked like was a demonic creature or like a demonic pattern. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was definitely demonic. I could sense it and I could see it. It had an evil look to it. And I started to think about this. I'm like, what is the purpose of that? Why would they design something that you can't see unless you're from above? And I realized what it was. They did this the spirits that did this through the people designing the stage or whatever, the spirits moving through those people, not good spirits, designed the stage in such a way that from God's vantage, he would see it from above. And it was meant to provoke him. I felt this in my heart. I felt this in my heart so much that I had to write it down. It was like an epiphany. It was like an aha moment. And I realized what was going on. I'm like, okay, if this was meant to provoke God and challenge God to try to provoke his judgment, to try to get him to hurt those people, to try to get him to cast judgment on those people, to try to test his mercy, if that was being done there, then it must be being done on other levels as well. It's not just the visible, but the invisible, the things we don't see. This must be happening all the time. And yet God is still merciful and still patient. And games are being played at a spiritual level that we don't understand. So, something to keep in mind. And it really makes you appreciate God's mercy and his long suffering. It really, really does if you start to think about this. The things that he's endured for our sakes so that none would perish. All right. Next one. Number 20. A good relationship with God will help you be the true you. This one is very simple. I don't think much explanation is needed, but I did write down actually a couple notes on this one, so I'll read the notes as well. The first note says that your faith in God will cause you to act in ways that attracts good things to you. This is obvious. I mean, the Spirit will move in us and lead us down paths that open up our lives in ways that would have never happened if we didn't trust in God, if we didn't put our trust in God and give way for the Spirit to do these things, to give room for the Spirit to do these things. When we allow the Spirit to move like this, and we invite the Spirit to move like this, and we give God permission to move like this in our lives, it attracts good things to us. Because God builds a whirlwind around us that attracts these things. And the second note here is actually a question. It says, what does it take to have a good relationship with God? Perhaps a clear conscience and always staying honest with yourself. Daily prayer and reading the Bible also seems important. And I think I hit the nail on the head there, actually. So a clear conscience and staying honest with yourself is very important. Don't lie to yourself and hide your sins, but eliminate sin from your life so that you can have a clear conscience when you come before God. And daily prayer and daily reading the Bible will also allow you to put God's words into your heart so that you live more like God and you manifest God's reality in your life because you'll speak his words. His words will come to you and you'll speak like he does. And you'll also be able to recognize when he's speaking because you know what it sounds like from reading the word. And daily prayer helps us build that relationship with God. That it gives us that closeness with God. That daily prayer is vital. It's vital. It gives you that closeness and that relationship with God that allows these things to manifest in the first place. So a good relationship with God will help you become the true you. All right. Number 21. A Christian acting like the world is like a sheep dressed up as a wolf and acting like a wolf. It's absurd to anyone who sees it. And the note to this one says, know what you are and be what you are. And the second note says, society is full of wolves. Don't try to be a wolf if you're truly a sheep. So this one is saying, don't try to act like the world. Don't look at worldly things and worldly people who have stature or who have ability or have charm, worldly charm, who have humor, worldly humor. Don't look at any of these things and mimic those people or try to imitate those people to improve yourself or to try to be like them or to try to attract what they have. Because what will end up happening is if you're a Christian and you're doing these things, you're going to be like a sheep dressed up like a wolf and acting like a wolf, which if you visualize this, it's absurd. A sheep going around acting like a wolf, trying to act vicious. It's just absurd. And the people who see it, their spirit can see the spirit in you and they can see right through you. So these things won't even work in the first place. It won't resonate. It won't come off right. And it'll only slow down your walk with God. So be aware of these things. Don't imitate the world. The world is prideful. The world is not humble. So be humble. Manifest the fruits of the Spirit. Don't manifest the fruits of the world. Number 22. Avoid pride at all costs. Be vigilant on the lookout for pride in your heart and ways. The note to this one, the first note says, pride is the root cause of many addictions, for example. And the second note says, God has given each of us a proper day and night cycle. Staying up late almost always leads to sin on some scale. Pride is at work on some level, but it will be conquered. This was more of a personal note for myself because I recognized the destructive power that pride had in my life. And I recognized that as I started to think about, like, where are my sins coming from? Like, where does all of this root from? What I discovered is time and time again, the root cause of these stumbles and these sins that I was experiencing, it was pride all along. It was pride at the very core of it. And so, pride, you should look out for it and be vigilant on the lookout for pride because it's a very sneaky thing. And that's what I discovered. It's a very, very sneaky thing. Pride manifests in the small things at first, and then it becomes a larger thing. And the larger thing manifests in secret, and then it displays itself when it's too big to conquer. And so pay attention to the small ways that you're being prideful. If you had the wrong perspective towards someone, if you had a destructive perspective towards someone, you tore them down in your heart rather than try to build them up. You cursed someone rather than blessing them. You said something to build yourself up, to make yourself look good, rather than letting God build you up and letting God let you look good. We should not build ourselves up. We should not self-promote. There's a place for this in business and place for this in advertising and things like that, but there's a way to do that properly, and it needs to be done carefully. But to flippantly and carelessly make statements about yourself and your abilities and who you are and what you won't do and what you will do, these things are all seeds of pride that will blossom into a horrible, horrible bush of thorns, and you'll be trapped in the middle of it, not understanding how to get out of it. So avoid pride at all costs and be vigilant on the lookout for pride in your heart and in your ways. Observe how you act. Take reflection upon how you acted throughout the day. Reflect on who you are and reflect on your behavior throughout the day, and see if there's any pride in any of it. And as you find the pride, make a conscious effort to overcome that. Set systems in place and set new ways in place, and ask God to take your heart of pride and transform it into a heart of humility. And He is faithful. He is faithful. He will not hear this prayer and not act on it. If you're coming from the right place, He will not hear this and not act on it. He will help you. All right, number 23. I love this one. Number 23. When good things start to happen, that's a sign of good things to come. And the note to this one explains this one really well. It says, if you've been on a negative slide, or I'll add to this, if you've been on a negative slide or you've been on a negative streak, and then an unexpected good thing happens, that's a sign that things are turning around. Just stay the course. Just stay the course. Whatever you did differently, keep doing that. And if you didn't do anything differently to cause that, then ask God, why did this happen? What do you want me to know about this? How can I continue this momentum, this good thing that has started to happen? How can I add to this momentum? How can I give power to it? What should I do next? And when these things happen, be of good cheer, because if you've been on a negative slide, if you've been, through a season of bad things happening to you, and it's happened for so long that you've almost become used to it, you've almost come to expect it, and then an unexpected good thing happens, don't brush it aside. Which is so easy to do. It's so easy to do when you're on a negative streak and you start to get into negative loops and negative thought processes about things. It's very easy to just view the whole world as negative and not be honest about the things that are happening that are positive, to not be honest about the breaks that you're being given in the midst of it. And so especially if, knowing this, that it's hard to see the good things happening when you've been going through a series or a season or a long period of negative results or bad things happening. It's hard to then recognize when good things happen, but if you do happen to recognize something good that's happened, if God gives you that realization, you have to stop and you have to examine that and you have to think about it. Maybe this is a sign that things are about to turn around, because you can abort that. God may be giving you a sign that things are going to turn around, but your disbelief will abort that. It'll abort what God started. Jesus, when he went to his hometown, he was unable to do many mighty works because of the unbelief, and the unbelief was great, and he was unable to do the works that he wanted to do because of that. And it's the same with us. If we don't believe that things can turn around, if we don't see the signs of things turning around, or we don't give thanks for those things when they start to happen, but continue in our negativity and continue in our downplaying of what's good, then we'll never get out of it. And it'll just get worse and worse. It could last a lifetime. You may never get out of it. So if you're in a season right now where trouble has come your way and it just seems like it's never going to end, and suffering is a constant, and you don't see anything good in life, I urge you to start looking for the small good things that you've overlooked. Ask God to reveal to you the good things that are happening that you've been dishonest about, the good things that have happened that you've called evil. Ask God to reveal those things to you. And as he reveals those things to you, give thanks for those good things he sent your way, and repent for the ways that you downplayed them and the ways that you spoke lies about them, saying they were evil when they were good. And as new good things start to happen as a result of your repentance and as a result of your refocus, give thanks to God each step of the way. And that gratitude will get you out of the situation. And that focus on the good will get you out of the situation. All right, last one. Number 24. A man must be diligent in his role as a protector, but he must also have finesse. I'll read the note to this one first before I continue. The note here says, protect, but don't be overbearing. know how to be protective in a wise way. And so there's a particular reason why I wrote this one, but I'll speak in generic terms. When I say a man must be diligent in his role as a protector, but he must also have finesse, what that means is a lot of times you'll see parents who take this too far. You'll see parents who are helicopter parents, as they call it. They are scared to death that something bad will happen to their child if they don't guard and protect every last little step of their life. And this is not a good thing. It comes from good intentions, but it also comes from a place of fear. And that fear and overprotection will manifest itself in a way that is very unfortunate for the person who is doing it. Because what happens is, as you are overprotective towards your children or towards anyone, once they break free of you, once they go out on their own in the world or whatever, like once they're away from you, what they will do is they will seek every danger they can possibly seek, and then they will get hurt because of it. And the very thing that you're trying to prevent will happen to them because of your overprotectiveness. And so it's not good to be overprotective, and it's not good to be fearful of what will happen, but you have to let your children make mistakes. You have to allow it. You have to give them room for that. And you have to give them room to make their own choices. Even if you know it won't end up good, you have to let them discover this for themselves when they're young, so that when they're older, they'll know better and they'll gain wisdom from this. But if you overprotect them, they'll have to find out for themselves when they're older. And as an adult, you can do a whole lot more damage to yourself than you can as a kid. You can get involved in all kinds of things that you shouldn't get involved in, that can set your life back and add curses to your life that are very, very difficult to overcome. And so what's the answer? Should you not protect your kids because of this? No, it's good to be a protector. Men especially are called to be a protector. You should look out for danger and not let your kids step into danger that will harm their spirit and their soul. But you should allow them to do things that they want to do, even if you know it's going to fail, even if you know that they will get emotionally hurt a little bit from it, but they'll learn a lesson for it. Be there ready to teach them the lesson. Be there ready to help them through it as a guiding hand, as a, almost as a friend. You know, whether you should be a friend to your kids or you should be a parent to your kids, that's a whole other discussion. But in some cases, you should be a friend to them. You should be a friend to them in those moments where they tried something, they failed, and you should help them with it. You shouldn't tell them I told you so or make them feel bad about it, but help them through it in a godly way and ask God to help you know how to do this in the right way. So protect them, yes. Protect them from the major things, but let them learn from mistakes. Let them make their own decisions so they can learn. If you stop them from making their own decisions in the small things, they'll resent you for it. So this is where finesse comes in. So this is why I say, you know, a man must be diligent in his role as a protector, but he must also have finesse. So be protective, but be unseen. You know, be unseen. Don't be overbearing. That overbearingness will cause people to resent you. And that's not what you want, because if your children resent you, they're not going to listen to you. They won't listen to your correction, and they'll go in the opposite direction of whatever you tell them, because they don't believe you, they don't trust you, they don't like you. So be protective, but have finesse. Do it in a wise way. You must have as much wisdom as you have strength of protection, because a lot of men, they lean into this role of a protector so much, and it becomes this almost toxic masculinity of sorts, which I know many people probably don't like that word, but it's just simply a definition to describe something accurately. It's toxic in the sense that it does not produce good fruit. So when you're overbearing and overprotecting, it's toxic. But if you can have finesse about you, as much finesse as you have masculinity, as much wisdom as you have masculinity, it'll be so beautiful. It'll be godly. It'll be something like what the way Jesus is. Jesus's image will manifest through you. And so that's where I'll end with this one. And I hope you enjoyed these sayings, and I hope that it's brought you insight and wisdom and understanding. And I pray that the spirit of wisdom and understanding moves through what I've said into your spirit so that you can understand these things and God can speak to you the things that he wants you to hear for your particular life and the exact words he wants you to hear. I hope these words serve as a spark for that for you. And I pray this in the holy, holy, holy name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Thank you for watching. Until next time.